everybody, my name is Faith the Pacifist 17 and welcome to, I'm trying to do something new today. See, I I don't feel like doing like the request things like the like the Sans or like the AU Sans X whoever anymore right now, and that's why I've been on hiatus for a while. I just didn't have like the motivation for it anymore. And well, this year I kind of wanted to do something new this year and then following year. I'm changing my course and I've been trying to do new things every now and then, and along with with my dogs being on my schedule, I had to be on quiet. But I think you have might seen me on different occasions, like on YouTube, playing with other YouTubers and all that. But today I'm gonna do something new. Like I stumbled upon a YouTuber who's doing fanfiction readings, and I want to do something of my own. Like, I want to do one too, but this one is by my own stories, just for practice, and maybe later on I'll do more. We'll see. But today I'm gonna do one of mine called Soul of Compassion: My Hero's Undertale from Archives for Our Own. And the author's name is Pacifist Harmony, which is also my name, which is also me. And it was inspired by a fan fiction called Soul of a Hero by Shiny Ninetails. It was inspired by it, and both stories will be linked in the description below. Um, I will start reading the summary first, and then we'll go on to the first chapter. All right, summary. Nanako is just a quirkless girl who finally decided to end it all at Ayokigahara. However, during her little trip to the forest, she stumbles upon a mountain top. Inside it was a hole that leads to the underground, which is a world full of monsters. While she fell down to the world below, certain people noticed that she's missing and got concerned. The two lives that were impacted the most at her disappearance was two boys named Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo. Would they change their minds and perspectives to search out to find her? Can Nanako escape the underground and get out alive? Would she even want to get out? Would she stay with them and leave the world above behind? Who knows? This is her Undertale after all. Chapter 1: The Beginning That Started It All. Here's a sad truth. Most men aren't made to be equal. People came to realize that others have powers beyond their comprehension. It all started one fateful day long ago in Xinxing City, China. A luminescent baby was born with a unique power. She was glowing as if she was an angel that was brought down from heaven itself. Then, as time passed, similar phenomenons began to happen all over the world. Soon the majority of the population had obtained superhuman powers that we, as of today, call them quirks. The supernatural became totally normal. Dreams became a reality, and people were able to pursue heroism as a profession. The world became a superhuman society that only 80% of the population possessed some uncanny ability. Due to that, crime waves escalated to high lengths throughout the world. But that was okay because soon after, the courageous became heroes as peacekeepers to protect the city that were overseen by the government. They looked like they just came out from a comic book and into the real world. It was the age of heroes. But some aren't just that lucky. However, they say that there are some who are led to a different fate. that they would either change the world for the better and bring peace and harmony, or they lead them to a path that can only bring nothing but destruction and chaos. Take today, for example. The day starts off after the attack of an amateur supervillain that was easily defeated by one of the pro heroes. It was at a train station. The villain attack was still going on, and everyone was there, watching the fight go down between one villain and three heroes. These three heroes were Backdraft, the fireman hero, Kunai Woods, and Mount Lady. It was a wonderful sight to see, and everyone was watching with awe and cheering the heroes on to win the fight or keeping citizens safe. That is, except for one. That person who I speak of is me. My name is Nanako, Nanako Nakamura. I was nearby an alleyway watching the scene unfold at a good distance away, very weary of both the villain and the heroes that were fighting him. I had my notebook out and was writing down the quirks that were used and which superheroes and the villain I saw at that fight. Gigantification, huh? Yes, her quirk may be all flashy and useful for huge enemies, but I see some very bad cons when it comes to using her quirk. For instance, she can't go down to small and narrow parts of the city if she wants to avoid any critical damage to the city and hurt any innocent lives. Not to mention with her huge size, it makes her even a bigger target for any villain out there. That is, if they're fast and agile enough to avoid her. If they have the right quirk or right weapon, if they're smart enough to use enough momentum and force, they'll be able to knock her down and defeat her easily. Narrowing down that hero's quirk again, I see. A voice interrupted my train of thought, and I looked up to see my oldest and visible to the naked eye friend, Okanen. Olga-chan for short. She's been with me ever since I was very little. But let me get something straight. She's not part of a quirk. In fact, she's not even a quirk at all. She's her own being, and she's always with me, as long as I have a shadow, or I'm in a dark alleyway, such as the one I'm in. But that's a story for another time. I'm the only person who can see her, while other people around me can't. This shadow being, that is not human in any shape or form, has floated alongside me and stayed within anything that has a shadow or shades. Like other shadows, she shies away from the light. Even though she's practiced enough that she can withstand the sunlight, if she stayed underneath it for too long, it burns her. And if it burns her, it also burns me. Yeah, I want to be a hero, like them. They've always been my inspiration, and I believe in myself when the world doesn't. I can be the best hero in the world, I said as I looked at her with determination and faith. She became silent for a moment or two, until her red eyes looked back at me. Yeah, I can see that as a real possibility, but I don't see why you care about them so much, she said and turned her head the other way and crossed her arms. And when she meant them, she meant Katsuki Bakugo and Izuku Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki Bakugo, Ichi-chan and Ka-chan are what I call them the most, are my former best friends. We've known each other ever since I was a small baby, and they were both toddlers. Our parents are close to each other. Our mothers are best of friends, while Ka-chan's dad and mine have known each other since they were in middle school. I'm not so sure about Izu-chan's dad. He wasn't there when I was born. Auntie Ingo said that he was working overseas, but deep down in my heart, I couldn't help that it wasn't the case. I hope that the thought I'm thinking of isn't it, just my past thinking that it might be it. Anyway, the three of us are really close. That is until Kachan's quirk manifested when he was 4 or 5. His quirk is explosion, which I find both very cool yet scary, but not in a way that you would think. Another story for another time. Since then, he changed drastically, stopped becoming mine and Isu-chan's friend, and soon he became a bully, always for going for Izu-chan and not me. I don't know why. I still don't know why. I've always wondered why, because I was declared quirkless when I was 3. Other kids picked on me and bullied me, but never Kachan or Izu-chan. Kachan, I never understood why. Izu-chan, I understood completely because he was quirkless too. All we had was each other, but as time passed, we rarely hang out any more than we used to when we were little. And when junior high started, we stopped being together as friends. I'm worried for him. I wished he would talk to me about what's going on in his mind. But one thing I do know, he wants to be a hero, like me. But the one thing that separates our dreams is the reason why we want to be heroes. I also I also hope they get out whatever kerfunkel they're in, come back to their senses, and come back to me as my friends someday. And since Okanen is always around me, she can see everything around me while others cannot see her, unless they have a special quirk. But she can make herself known if she wants to. So she definitely knows about Izuku, Katsuki, and everything that no one else does, along with her parents. Well, Izuku's mother, Inko. Because they're my friends, and I see them as my family. They're the only ones I have left. I just can't lose them altogether, Oka-chan. It wouldn't be right, I finally replied as I gently closed my notebook. Okanen became silent after that. Soon, after the crowd had cleared, I saw someone familiar and smiled softly at them. It was that said former boy, Izuku, writing away in his book and muttering softly to himself. She giggled softly and started walking away to head to their school in which the old trio attended together. Soon enough, inside one of Aldera junior high classrooms, Nanako was reading her book as her teacher started speaking to his class. Since she was 11 years old, due to her being a prodigy and everything, she skipped some grades and joined Izuku and Katsuki in their school. And she's the youngest third year in class. She's very intelligent, but very timid and quiet to everyone around her. Well, except for a couple of people. Speaking of, a boy named Izuku Midoriya was writing down some notes down in his notebook and was listening to his teacher, but he had a sad look on his face. Their teacher was looking at some papers.
So, as third year students, it's time to start thinking seriously about your futures and what you want to do with your lives. I could pass out career aptitude tests, but why bother in the first place?
He said. Soon he started smirking as he looked at his students. Soon, all of the students started to show off their quirks with confidence. Well, almost all of them. Izuku Midoriya and Nanako Nakamura were the only two that had no quirks in the entire school. To put it into terms, they're they're the two quirkless kids in the entire school due to the fact 10% of the population are born quirkless. Everyone else had these amazing quirks, and both of them watched the others in silence. Nanako, however, flinched softly at a student who was using her fire quirk, and made sure that she wasn't shaking in front of her entire class. She never told anyone before, but she was scared of a few things that gave her bad memories in the past. She was tired of being picked on because she had no quirk. But once again, she was helpless and weak on her own. Then she heard someone laughing, and knew that laugh more than anyone else besides Izuku and herself. It was Kachan.
Hey, Teach, don't let me in with these bunch of losers. I'm the real deal. But these guys will be lucky to be a sidekick or to some busted D-lister.
Katsuki Bakugo, the school's top student, and quite a bully, gloated in his own cockiness as he insulted everyone in his own class.
What, you think you're better than us, Bakugo?
A couple of the students asked angrily and glared at him.
Let's go, I'll take you all on!
Katsuki laughed as he mocked the other students as well. He knew he was the best, of course. His dream was to pass All Might after all. Nanako sighed softly, and knew that Kachan would be a great hero. But he was just too prideful and dependent on his quirk more than anything. If he keeps that up, he'll never be a good hero. Just another person who wants to be a hero for wealth and fame, which is a kind of hero she never wanted to be around or get caught staying with. Period. Izuku looked at his old childhood friend, who ended up being his bully in the end, and shook his head softly and looked back on his notebook. Their teacher was looking over some papers and was trying to look for something.
Huh, you've got impressive test results. Maybe you will get into UA High,
He said as he looked at Bakugo's papers. The students were murmuring to themselves how it was impossible for anyone to get into that school, for it had a 2% acceptance rating. Nanako simply ignored her classmates as she put her head down and sighed softly. Her eyes turned to look at the window next to her desk. Her vision turned to look at the sky and saw a couple of birds pass by. She felt her heart ache for a bit. It's been a while since she visited them. Maybe after work she'll go visit them after school. If she got lucky, that is. Meanwhile, Izuku watched him and shook his head, and laid his head down on his desk to hide his face.
It's exactly why it's the only place worthy of me, the blonde spiky boy said,
Interrupting the murmurs, and jumped onto his desk, and his cockiness was so big you could actually feel the waves coming off of him.
I aced all the mock tests. I'm the only one at this school who stands a chance of getting in. I'll end up more popular than All Might himself and be the richest hero of all time. The people all across the world will know who I am, and it all starts with UA High!
Nanago overheard what Kachan was saying, but she didn't pay any attention to it. She didn't care if she was on the top. She thought it would be better if she was somewhere in the middle, like fifth or sixth pro hero, or something like that. Everything was going okay until
Oh yeah, Midoriya, Nakamura, aren't you two applying to UA as well?
the teacher asked, without even looking up and looking at the two pieces of paper, which were the two said students. Both students flinched when their names were called. They didn't want anyone to know about it, but cat's out of the bag now. When Bakugo heard that Nanako and Izuku were applying, he stopped his ranting and his eyes started twitching. It was silent in the classroom until everyone started laughing at the two quirkless wannabes.
Midoriya and Nakamura? You're joking, right?
There's no way they can get into the hero course without a quirk. Nanako bit her lip and hid her face in shame and embarrassment. She didn't want to say anything at all and wasn't going to, until she heard Izuku speak for both of them. Izuku looked at everyone and sat up from his seat.
That's not true. They lifted that rule, and they're allowing them in. If that's the case, Nanako and I surely could get in.
Bakugo used his quirk and slammed Deku's desk away. angry as hell. The explosion made Nanako jump and freeze in place. No one else noticed because they were all focused on the two boys, much to her relief. She tried to calm down before anyone noticed her being weird. He began to tell them that if they were trying to be better than him, they were nothing but quirkless losers who would never hang out with the best of the best. Defenseless Izuku! Set your mind straight before chasing hopeless dreams! Katsuki exclaimed as he sat back down. He turned to look at Nadeko. Same thing applies to you, Runt. Set your priorities straight before you get yourself killed, he said in a calming tone, with a glare that alone made her hide her face and nodded softly, as if to say that she agreed with him. The blond boy saw this and huffed softly, and turned his head to face the board. Unbeknownst to the boys and the small girl, three girls looked at the one with the different colored hair. Soon they started snickering at how she easily submitted to the angry Pomeranian boy. Then, later on, the bell rang, indicating that school was over. Now she could leave the school and go to her next destination. Nanako sighed in relief as she grabbed her stuff and started getting out of there before she gave her application to her teacher. She wanted to get out of that school as quickly as she could. As she was leaving, she saw Izuku was gently putting his stuff into his bag and was checking out the news on his phone and saw the villain attack already blasting its way in the news all around. She chuckled softly and started leaving the school grounds. What she didn't pay attention to was the group of girls from before watched the girl walking away from the school. Well, well, well. Looks like the runt is finally on her own once again. Come on, girls. If she thinks she could be a hero and get into UA, she's got another thing coming, she said as the trio started following after Nanako. She was a couple of miles away from the school until she got grabbed by the two of the goons and covered her mouth to prevent her from screaming out for help. They pulled her away to an alleyway. Well, 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 well. It seems that we finally got one of the corpus freaks. And look, you have nowhere to go and no one to call for help, Nanako, the leader said as she smirked evilly at the frightened 11-year-old. Nanako's eyes widened as her body started to shake underneath the two girls' hold. She couldn't get her phone and couldn't call out. She was trapped, and she feared that she wasn't going to be let down easily. Soon she started to squirming to get out of their grasp and run away. But it proved to be futile because they had their own quirks, making them twice as strong as her. Uh, uh, uh. You're not going anywhere, little runt, the leader, May said as she extended her hand and summoned a weapon, in which it happened to be a wooden bat. Her quirk was called weapon summoning. She can summon any weapon as she pleases, but she has to know what weapon it is and has to touch it before she can even summon one. Nanako let out a muffled yelp as her eyes widened in fear. Her heart was pounding heavily within her chest. May looked at the girl with frilly hair named Sakura and gave her a small nod. Sakura smirked evilly and her leg turned black and kicked Nanako on her left leg, which made her let out a muffled scream and fell to her knees. Tears slowly started to form in her eyes, and the other, named Ami, kicked her right side, and she let out a yelp of pain. Sakura's quirk was called Dark Strength. Whenever she used her quirk, it would make her body, or any part she wanted to use, black and increase the amount of strength up to 50%, making a huge impact on anything. In which that kick that Nanako had received, that made her gain an ugly bruise on her leg. Not to mention it sprained her foot, making her walk with a limp every time she walked. Ami's quirk is called silence. She can silence anyone from speaking, but while they can't speak, they can make noises, such as grunts and small screams, but they won't be loud enough to draw attention. However, for the time being, she has to make contact with that person in order for it to work. You're a pathetic little worm. You're never going to be a hero. You'll die when you enter that exam. You're nothing but a burden to everyone around you, especially that other quirkless freak you call Izu-chan. May spat at her as she swung her bat and hit her left arm, in which that was a very fragile part of her body, making her scream in pain, but it was muffled and she shook her head in agony. Hey, if you really want to quirk that badly, I'll give you some advice. If you really want to make the world a better place for everyone, why don't you take a swan dive off of a roof? Maybe in your next life you can get lucky, Ami said as she pulled on her hair, revealing her already bruised face from being punched in the face by one of them before she fell. The girls finally let the beaten-up girl go and laughed as they walked away to do whatever they did on a normal day, leaving Nanako to just lay there, afraid to move a muscle. She gently held onto her arm and whimpered in pain, and tried to curl around herself, but she was in too much pain to do so. Why? Why is it always me? To be continued. Okay, that was the first chapter of Soul of Compassion, Soul of Compassion, My Hero's Undertale. I hope you enjoyed this so far, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Sorry if I messed up a couple of times. This is my first time doing this, and I'm a little nervous. So, oh, and we give link in the description below, and there will be on my story there will be art showing what Nanako looks like. I hope you enjoy, and as always, stay compassionate, my friends, and let me know how I did. It's been a while since I've done this. Anyways, see ya. Have a wonderful day. Bye.